Okay. So thank you, Minister Stankov, for addressing this panel and for explaining us how how Bulgaria will help in strengthen resilience for the region. Thank you also, dear guests, for attending this panel. We are going to discuss mainly here about the energy in the region and how we can make this region a critical player in the global market. We will focus on three pressing themes. First theme is resilience in natural gas supply amid geopolitical tensions. Of course, now with the new president in the US, these geopolitical tensions might be resolved, which we all hope. But the reality is that we have now these tensions. The transition to renewables and decarbonization. And third is the role of strategic infrastructure in regional cooperation, how we can develop this infrastructure to boost this regional cooperation. So we know that these issues are critical for the region's sustainable economic growth and energy security. And we are lucky to have in this panel, among our esteemed guests and dear professionals, the former Minister of Energy and expert in gas industry, Mr. Malinov. So, having said that, Mr. Malinov, given your experience as a previous tenure as an energy minister, how can Bulgaria play in advancing cross-border energy cooperation in Southeastern Europe? And how can the region address its dependency on gas? Because, we suffered some gas disruptions, and we need to be able to deal with this. So, please.
Thank you, George. Because Simeon is missing, then I'll keep the thanks to the organizers when he's back in the room. Yeah. But yeah, first of all, I'm very glad that we had the chance, all the audience and we as a distinguished speakers to hear the Minister of Energy, and I really wish him a good luck, because the challenges in the energy sector, they're let's say, jumping from every corner and every bush. But much more important is what I see is that there will be a continuity, and that means that we have, as a interim caretaking government, worked, and there will be a continuity in the policy, energy policy, not just of our country, of Bulgaria, but also of the region. And I'm not just willing to put the borders just the Southeast Europe, but even broadening a little bit the region. And if you allow me, I would, nevertheless, that you announced me much more like a gas expert, but I think that I could contribute to the audience and to the conversation much more in an energy sense, a broader sense than just the gas and gas infrastructure and the future development of the market around. So from that perspective, because looking at how the panel was named, I do believe that not just Bulgaria, but also the whole region, the chip which we had to sit on the much more broader European and trans-Euro-Atlantic table is called really infrastructure and future investment in infrastructure. Due to the fact it was mentioned during the whole day, and it's something which is repeated constantly, and this is one of my mottos, that the energy has always been and will be also in the future the backbone of the development of each economy. So from that perspective, the business, the households, everybody is expecting to have a sustainable and, on the other side, affordable energy. So from that perspective, it's from a vital importance we to secure that for the competitiveness and development of our economies in the regions. So investing into energy infrastructure is something which is vitally, vitally important. And the second word, which is important to have that in place, is to collaborate and cooperate in that, to start thinking outside of the borders, outside of the regions, and future development in that respect. So this is a message maybe I would like, let's say, to pass. But we have perfect examples. It's not just talking. Perfect examples about regional cooperation. Of course, you and Teodora know very well. The first example is the ICGB when it comes to the gas infrastructure. But the much more recent one, which was put in operation as the 1st of October last year, is also the project which we had in Alexandroupolis as a common one in the gas field. Of course, the further on, when it comes to the gas, it's further development, and it's also very common initiative supported by 7 countries and even much more by number TSOs. This is the Vertical Gas Corridor Initiative, and it should be in place. When we work together, when we share the same common values, I think that we should be much more optimistic and we could achieve that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vlado, for your insights on regional cooperation. And this brings us to a global perspective on energy systems. And it's a good opportunity to hear Mr. Christidis, who will address us through video on how the nuclear energy complements these efforts. So, Mr. Christidis, from your global perspective, how can nuclear energy complement renewables to meet Southeastern Europe's decarbonization goals? And what lessons can the region learn from Canada's nuclear strategy?
Thank you very much for the question. And first of all, I want to thank yourselves and Mr. Somokos and Delphi Economic Forum for this opportunity and to speak with all these distinguished guests. I'm actually joining you from Washington, D.C., where I am part of a Canadian delegation that's attending some of the inaugural activities. So I'll be attending some activities at the Canadian Embassy here in Washington. So it's kind of timely when we talk about energy security and how Canada plays in that space. From the broadest sense of the word, nuclear technologies are very much now being part of the decision-making processes of a variety of different governments as they consider their energy security, but also their climate goals. And I think that in Southeast Asia, Europe, Latin America, of course, North America, this discussion is intensifying. And the dynamic of which is really starting to shift a little more on the energy security spaces. In the Canadian context, we find ourselves in a very unique opportunity as Canada finds itself as a leading nuclear proponent in the sense of we have the uranium mining capability, we have key nuclear utilities, we are entered into the small modular reactor space where key projects such as the one in Ontario, led by Ontario Power Generation and linking with opportunities in Saskatchewan, for example, and other parts of Canada, are linking into Europe. There are particular projects that involve Poland, with particular projects on the can-do side that involve Romania, of course. So we have a very strong capability in Canada that is really positioning us in terms of being a bit of a leader in some of these spaces that might be providing opportunities and partnerships for countries that want to diversify their energy mix, include nuclear opportunities along with gas and renewables to strengthen their energy security and to meet their climate goals. So I would suggest that, part of the conversation, what I'm hearing is very common as different countries are looking for this opportunity, whether it's Bulgaria, whether it's Romania and the like, that are explicitly interested in the role of nuclear. One thing I will say in the Canadian context, if I may, Canada really went through a transformation on the political policy side as related to nuclear. In 2015 and 16, there wasn't a sense of the role for nuclear being recognized, but now we're seeing significant investment in not only small modular reactors, but also announcements of more large nuclear initiatives. So for example, last week, Ontario Power Generation, Ontario government announced that it will be studying for large nuclear in a location called Wesleyville, Ontario, which could represent about 10,000 megawatts of power. Bruce Power is looking for a large nuclear project in Ontario as well. So there's a real robust environment here that nuclear is now being, capacity is being expanded, and that could be sort of an opportunity to work with other regions to identify common goals, energy security and climate, of course.
Thank you, Mr. Christidis, for your insights, which are indeed very useful, taking in mind that in Bulgaria we also use nuclear energy, and
Yes.
nuclear's role in decarbonization in the energy mix is very important. Now, let's turn to Mr. Konstantinov to explore how energy markets adapt to these evolving dynamics of collaborating between different energy sources. So, Mr. Konstantinov, I would like to ask you, how is the Bulgarian Energy Exchange managing volatility in gas and electricity markets, and what role does it play in enhancing energy stability among competitors in the southeastern Europe?
Yeah, I think it's working now. Good afternoon to everybody. I'm very, very happy to have the chance to support this forum, and many thanks for having me here. There is a lot of activities currently running in the energy exchanges all over Europe. The nice thing is that the Bulgarian ones is working on the same rules like every other European exchange. So there is no room here for developing any local Bulgarian stars, which is, I think, very, very, very good for this dynamic environment currently in Bulgaria. I'd like to focus our wording on the market coupling projects because the market coupling and the market connectivity is one of the best behaviors from one power exchange, electricity exchange, to be in line with this all and common European electricity market. A couple of years ago, we managed to successfully launch the coupling on our European Union borders. I mean, with Romania and Greece, we coupled the markets on the day-ahead and intraday levels. So we have any space for development there. But it's currently very important to manage to couple the West Balkan 6 countries and Turkey as well. There is a few initiatives in these directions, but it is very, very hard because the legal structures of the markets in these non-European countries is just a bit different than ours, and obviously they will need some more time in order to adopt their rules to ours. The good news is this that for a couple of weeks ago we signed a memorandum with our colleagues from Serbia, and actually between the two power exchanges of Serbia and Bulgaria, plus the two transmission system operators, we have common agreement to work fastly in order to achieve this market coupling and to finalize this project. We have a lot of discussions with our colleagues from Turkey, but the situation there is a little bit strange because from physical point of view, we are very well connected. We have two transmission system lines, two interconnectors, and both of them, they are able to transfer electricity with power capacity with more than 2,000 megawatts. But unfortunately, only 100 megawatts from these more than 2,000 are available for trading on a yearly basis. And having these only 100, it is very difficult for the exchanges to launch a coupling project. That is why I'm counting on the transmission system operators, ESO from Bulgarian side and TEAS from the Turkish side, to work closer together and to improve this capacity available for trading. And I hope that if we reach at least 500 megawatts on a yearly basis, together with our friends and colleagues from the Turkish Power Exchange, EPH, will be managed to establish a coupling project. So, to stress once again, we have a very good physical connectivity, but the market integration with the market zones outside the European Union is very, very important. Thank you.
Thank you. Indeed, it's very critical that the framework and the regulatory environment works. And in this highly geopolitical, there are some developments, geopolitical, and tensions. So after hearing you, I think it's an opportunity now to pass the floor to Mr. Stambolis, because he is an expert in geopolitical developments, tensions that may impact not only electricity market, but also gas markets like TAP and Turkstream. So, Mr. Stambolis, thank you for your presence here in this panel. And your geopolitical insights connect well with what is happening now in the region. So I would like to have your view on how all these tensions, they influence energy policy in Southeastern Europe, and what strategic steps can mitigate those risks.
First of all, I wish to thank you, and I wish to thank Simeon for inviting our institute and myself to be present here in Sofia. We are in the middle, we are at the epicenter of the Balkans. Bulgaria is playing a very important part in the energy developments of the whole region. And as a regional institute, right from the start, we consider the energy problems, the energy situation, the energy issues on a regional basis. Over the last few years, energy ties between the various countries in the region have become closer and closer. And we've seen this being demonstrated very clearly on two occasions over the last 3 months, where the three prime ministers of Romania, Bulgaria, and Greece had a common stance as far as European Commission is concerned with regard to prices. They were very clear about their fears of differentiation between this part of Europe and North and Central Europe. So it means that policymakers are getting more aligned. And I agree with you that this is the crux of solving the energy issues in our region. A second example is, of course, the vertical corridor. And the vertical corridor started with a common declaration of the ministers of energy of Romania, Bulgaria, and Greece in November 2014. And a lot of things have happened since then. I'm very happy that we're associated as an institute right from the start. We did the first pre-feasibility study, and we followed up the issue. And now we see actually this being implemented through the vertical, through the Greek-Bulgarian interconnector, through the FSRU in Alexandroupolis, through detailed planning now happening north, and of course the signing of very detailed and demanding protocols between transmission operators, because this is what the vertical corridor is. It's not only a physical corridor, it's a corridor which works based on close cooperation. I won't say more, I just wanted to point out that another reason why Bulgaria is very important to the region, together with Romania, is because of their very important nuclear input. As we are going towards energy transition, and I think it's more of an electricity transition, base load is becoming more and more important. How can we get base load right now if we exclude the dangerous or unwanted coal? I disagree on that, but let's say that this is the decision of governments to get rid of coal over the next 10, 15 years. What are we left with? Gas and nuclear. So Bulgaria, again, has a very important role to play. I could say more things, but I will pass on the floor to others.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Stambolis. Your insights connect well to the infrastructure side of the conversation, as we said in the beginning. And this brings me to Mr. Georgiev to discuss the electricity modernization. So, Mr. Georgiev, as CEO of NEC, what measures are being implemented to modernize Bulgaria's energy infrastructure, and how is your company preparing for the rising share of renewables in the electricity mix? Because we know that this will come. It's the future, how things will work.
So thank you for the excellent question. For the whole infrastructure, I will not allow myself to talk energy, but rather for the hydroelectric infrastructure, for which I have the responsibility. So yes, with the constant increase of renewables, which was quite sharp during the last years, the need for flexible production of electricity and also for storage of electricity are becoming more and more important. And it is obvious that this trend with increase of the share of renewables and also more specifically the installed capacity of renewables will continue to, I would say, sharply increase. This is why the role of producers and operators like NEC is becoming even more important. We understand well this importance and also base our strategy for development in this perspective. On one hand side, we are doing our best efforts and implement best practices to modernize and to maintain the existing assets, which are already getting in an age which is over 50 years. So this requires a lot of investments, a lot of care and focus in order to be kept in good shape and also to be modernized. So this is one of the directions. This week we finished the rehabilitation, this year, sorry, and previous already year, we finished the rehabilitation of the largest cascade in Bulgaria, hydro cascade, which is quite important and biggest supplier of balancing energy and system services to the TSO, where, by the way, NEC provides around 70% of the system services, so we are quite experienced in this aspect and know our responsibility. At the end of last year, we also managed to repair, let's call it, one of the units of the biggest pump storage in Southeastern Europe, Chera, which was in, unfortunately, in difficult technical situation. We are quite positive that in the next 12, 13 months, we would also recover another 2 units, so this will be significant help for the energy system and also, of course, for the integration, both physical and market, of the renewables. Additionally, we operate 2 other smaller pump storage units, which are also providing this important storage function. Of course, even more important for the storage of electricity, seasonal or during the day, during the week, the dams which we own and operate, as these storing really significant amounts of energy, between 1.7 and 2 terawatt hours of energy, which is really important for the stability even on seasonal basis and multi-year basis sometimes, with periods like last year, which was quite dry. And of course, the last which I would mention, but not the least by importance, is other projects for development of 2 large-scale pump storage hydropower plants, which we plan. At the moment is ongoing feasibility study, which is supported by the European Investment Bank, which is quite important for us support. Each of them is expected to have 800 megawatts of installed capacity and storage capacity of 30 to 50 gigawatt hours, which even on European level is a significant capacity. Of course, we are open also to the new technologies, which are battery-based storage mainly, probably new further will come. So we have a pilot project also for battery-based storage at one of our hydropower plants, and we have also another at 4 of our hydropower plants projects for additional battery-based storage to make hybrid storage plants, let's call them, and the two technologies, we believe that they complement each other very well, and we hope that this expectation will materialize.
Okay, it's very impressive. Thank you, Mr. Georgiev, for highlighting the importance of infrastructure modernization and providing us with examples of how this works. And now it's time to pass, to give the floor to my colleague, actually, Teodora Georgieva, to explain us the role of IGB, because IGB is also a very modern infrastructure, state-of-the-art, and how it affects the skin in the energy sector in Bulgaria, and also to give us her perspective on the gas prices and the overall environment, because we have seen a lot of spikes for the TTF lately, but we believe that that's not the case, right? Teodora.
So is it working? Yes, okay. So thank you very much, George, for giving me the word. Thank you also to Simeon for inviting me. Privileged to be here and to be able to give the insight for IGB. Talking about IGB, I would like to start a bit from where. So IGB is not a kind of it's infrastructure which is crucial and related to the whole Europe. So starting to talk about Europe, I mean, before coming to this, we should say that before 2022, one of the major words, which is a kind of outlining Europe, was dependency in relation with gas. So I could say that after the invasion of Russia towards Ukraine, let's say also Europe learned made their lessons learned in a bad way. That's exactly when IGB has been implemented and realized. So this is an infrastructure which is connected with the Southern Gas Corridor. Let's say we're talking about infrastructure at the level of 3 BCM, out of which one-third is coming from 1 BCM from Azerbaijan. And also this infrastructure, as has been mentioned before, is a crucial element from the vertical corridor and the initiative that we are boosting and making much more really, I mean, it's like a unique example how if you would like to and combine ourselves, things even challenging could make it happen. So it's a crucial for energy security, because when we started functioning, although we experienced so much hurdles on the way, exactly 2022 and 2023 we have because we started to function, there are lots of gas that we by functioning of IGB and enabling Trans-Balkan pipeline to work in a reverse mode, we supplied countries like Moldova and Ukraine in a very, let's say, difficult and volatile situation. So it has been proven immediately, let's say, the importance of IGB as a key element from the energy security. And I mean, it's not only energy. It happens that at that time it was European security. So that plays a role. Now, as has been also mentioned by Mr. Stambolis and by Vado, so now our main efforts right now is given this, let's say, geopolitical dynamics, and it happens to be very dynamic situation. Now, from 1st of January, also gas through Ukraine has been seized, which impact significantly to countries like Austria, like Slovakia. So it inevitably also put a different accent on implementation of vertical gas corridor. And in this situation, in this context, it's good to mention that Europe has learned their lessons from, on one side, they mobilized themselves to talk about, let's say, to put some KPIs for the storages, also to manage to decrease the demand, which is, I am not saying that it's optimum, because talking about the industrialization in the business is not really the optimum. Now I could say that the prices, because I have been asked, let's say, went to the level of 2021 before the war, but still there are lots of geopolicy which impacting the implementation of vertical gas corridor, because now we followed the current regulations and did incremental capacity. Unfortunately, for the binding test, it was not successful due to, let's say, not having users which are willing to book on a long-term basis. So we should take into consideration this geopolicy, because it plays a role. There are lots of gas which are coming from Turkey, which is creating kind of dumpings. Let's say a couple of months ago, we do have dumpings at the level of 8 to 10 euro per megawatts versus TTF. So it plays a role in the, for sure. And we should say that, let's say, I mean, there are not so much predictivity, not reliable sources. So in this uncertain situation, I think that let's say the European factor and USA funding in realizing of this vertical corridor is of crucial importance, because without this, it cannot be always taken. Let's say we cannot really optimize and secure the energy, realize this vertical corridor. So we are talking about, I think that at the latest stage we are talking about not more than 5 million euro, which is going to impact from 5 to 10 BCM increase of capacity towards Moldova and Ukraine. And I mean, also, let's not forget also Hungary and Slovakia. And I mean, I think that this makes sense, and this we should on the other hand, European Union is not willing to give, to subsidize infrastructure, even a kind of bottlenecks, which are still gas. So I think, so then we are raising the question, is really energy security matters? If matters, we should take an immediate and quick steps in order to, let's say, to see the results. Also, I mean, just to mention, yesterday I read, but it was well known that it is possible that also Germany start to take lots of action by implementing LNG terminals. And now Europe is at the level of 37% of LNG versus before. So there are, let's say, steps which are taken, but we should really think, let's say, it should be much more speedier. And also countries like southeastern countries should be definitely supported in order to boost this energy security, because it makes much more sense together with LNG terminals in Christidis to do so. So this is a kind of message that we are ready to implement. We are doing a unique, let's say, cooperation. In times like this, cooperation is a must. And I think that we took our lessons in the vertical corridor together with the other operations, but we need some support. I mean, either from European Union or from some USA subsidies, in order to make as soon as possible and to satisfy also the, I mean, really to respond to energy security if this is important.
Thank you so much for your detailed description and your insights on how this how we could evolve in the future. And I will give the floor now to Mr. Homatas. Mr. Homatas, with your experience as an asset manager and regarding the progress that Greece is making in the infrastructure, what do you think is important, and how we, first of all, give us an overview of what's happening now in Greece and how this could bolster the region's role in a global perspective.
Okay. First of all, thank you for the invitation. It's an honor for me to be there and participate in your forum. As you know, Mrs. Galli, due to a problem of last minute, could not participate today. But in any case, we wish for the success of your forum. Let's discuss about infrastructures and assets, because I think that the main lesson learned from this crisis of 3 years was that assets could give a solution, especially to the energy security of supply and to the diversification of power routes. Starting from LNG. During the last 3 years, the important role of LNG installation, especially Revidusa installation, was something out of discussion. From the spring of 2022, when the crisis was started, Revidusa support not only Greece, but the whole region up to the Southeast Europe. In the year of 2022, 78 cargos from 10 different countries came and approached LNG facilities to supply gas and to support the area against the suspicions posed by Russians in the entry of Russian gas. This proved the importance of such installation, and now there is a second one in Alexandroupoli, put in operation from 1st of October, and play the same crucial role for the whole region. Even in 2024, if you see the data regarding Revidusa, we had 27 cargos from 4 different countries, giving available power and available natural gas for the Greek market, and not only, for the whole region. As a result, in 2024 in Greece, we have an increasing of 30% in the domestic consumption, 32% in the power plants consumption, and 71% increase in the sector or in the industrial sector. This proves how the market of natural gas improved. Let's go now forward. The crucial role of Revidusa reflected in the auctions, which is running now, regarding the slots, the unloading slots for the years 2025 up to 2030, 5 years. Nearly all the slots have been booked up to now. This gives the message that for the next year, such kind of assets, such kind of installations is very, very important for the whole energy map of Europe. Regarding pipeline and flexibility of the system, as DESFA, you know, we have a huge development plan, having 3 different pillars. The first is the expansion in the whole area, and this is implemented by new pipeline infrastructures. I refer as example the West Macedonia and the pipeline to Komotini area, in order to supply gas to whole the Greek area. The second pillar is the improvement and the upgrade of the controlling and monitoring systems. Regarding this is why we invest in OT and IT systems in order to have SCADA and all the systems in a very good quality for the monitoring and controlling of the system. And the third pillar, which is the most important in my opinion, is the connection with other systems. And this is as example that we are have already completed the MR station in Amphitrite for the connection with FSRU in Alexandroupolis. Is near to be completed the new compressor stations in Komotini for the physical connection with ICGB. And we have in plans the new interconnector with North Macedonia and Nomagas, which will be complete beginning 2026. I think that the answer will give solutions is to expand, to develop new assets in the area.
Great and a very nice overview. So now that we managed to finish the first round with the speakers, and I admit that it was very diverse, exploring all the different energy fields, I will come back to Vlado. Vlado, with your experience again as energy minister, and because you have seen all the spectrum, who do you think, in your opinion, which do you think, in your opinion, is the one that has the more potential or to develop here in Bulgaria and for the region? Give us your insights.
Do you hear me? So if you have several kids and babies, you don't have a preferred one. So, George, do not put me in such kind of a situation, let's say, to have a preference. But thank you for the question, because I wanted to share a few of my thoughts on each of every speakers and what has mentioned. Of course, I will start with the natural gas. I do believe that all that was discussed about future development of gas infrastructure. This is a process which is irrevocable. So, of course, the region, not just the region, but Europe will need much more access to LNG receiving terminals. I do believe that the initiative, which many of us were part of that in the past, the initiative of the vertical gas corridor, which was mentioned, is irrevocable. It's a process. What needs to be done there in the gas sector, maybe, and I do believe that you will agree with me, is that we need to work about a unified tariff, because in reality, our region and our corridor and our access, which our geopolitical and geographic position, which our region gives us a good opportunity, but in any case, we are competing with other corridors. We are competing with the North Sea projects, which are what has been invested there. So if we would like to be much more competitive as a region when it comes to the gas sector, we need to work on a much more deepening the cooperation between the different TSOs, having unified tariff, having one-shop service. So this is important in the upcoming, and on the other side, we don't have time. We don't have time to do that in a decades from now, because competitiveness is a good thing, and that needs to move us and urge us to move much more faster. When it comes to the electricity, because Martin mentioned the importance, that I will give you an example, that our expectations that just in Bulgaria, in the upcoming 2 years, there will be an investment up to 5 billion level in the storage of electricity. And this is that we are working. Okay, Bulgarian government will support through different financial mechanisms, through the recovery and resilience plan, through the modernization fund. Bulgaria will subsidize that, will support that. But maybe it's time really to think about much more common approach about a shared storage of electricity. And this is a project I do believe, and I will also put my efforts in whatever position I will occupy in the future. But the project which Martin mentioned about the new storage, hydro pump storage, about the dams of Duspat and Batak, gives a huge potential. And this is a storage which will allow the business and will give the opportunity, this fluctuation as in the electricity prices which we see, not just through the seasonalities, but also during the days, they to be flattened a little bit and give much more predictability. So please remember that project, and this is where all the countries, like it was mentioned about when it comes to the gas infrastructure, also when it comes to the shared storage electricity infrastructure, we should work together within the region. Nuclear. Of course, I do believe that by the end of this year, Bulgaria should be in a position to take on the highest level, political level possible, to take the FID about a new 2 reactors, modern technologies, Western-wise, with the best Korean partners in place. And taking this FID, simultaneously, we should move the process about securing the financing. And here is the place where the countries in the region to be part of the game and to benefit, but also to contribute in that project. And I think that when it becomes much more regional, it will give it will be part of the green transition, because, you know, nuclear energy is no emission. Nevertheless, that it relies on some fossil fuel, like the nuclear fuel, but it's very sustainable, and it will give additional autonomy to the region, because we need to rely on our sources. A lot more to be mentioned. When Kosio mentioned about coupling of the markets, this is, of course, important, and we should start thinking outside of the EU picture, because our region, but maybe one of the potentials here is expanding and broadening the EU zone. That will give us much more better opportunity following the same regulations and the same procedures. And I think that with Northern Macedonia and Serbia, this is trackable as a process, but also with Turkey. Because when I was talking about cooperating, not just the countries in the region, but we should see the potential which could come from the Caspian region, of course, much more energy, much more even hydrogen in the future for the TANAP and TAP and all the vertical gas corridor. But also we should focus also on Northern Africa, and this future to broaden our perspective and to broaden the sustainability of our region. Thank you.
Thank you, Vlado. And since you mentioned about kids, we have here with us a specialist in nuclear, which is one of the kids, as you said. So, Mr. Christidis, again, can you in 2 minutes give us the perspectives of nuclear with the new energy, with the new technological developments, and what is the Europe? How do you see as the Europe stance against this? Because we know that there were different approaches to nuclear, how this can help, how it can be dangerous, etc.
I think very similar to what we just heard from other important panelists here. I mean, it's just basically the fundamental role that nuclear technologies do play in stabilizing and providing opportunities for energy security and meeting climate goals. Southeast Europe itself, as Bulgaria, Romania, etc., that are interested and including nuclear technologies, I think it will provide not only a regional opportunity, but also opportunities to work with key partners beyond the region. So again, from a Canadian perspective, there's obviously a number of different technologies, nuclear technologies that exist, both large and small. And in many cases, the optimum choice that is made by a specific country is based on a number of different factors. Costs, of course, management of nuclear waste. And again, from our perspective, all these are part of a solution that's provided to enhance energy security. Certainly, as we see the dialogue occurring across countries, there's a real recognition, and Europe as a whole has really shifted to the inclusion of nuclear in this space. And that will probably intensify, and that trend will increase. So, you know, as we heard here, I think it's incumbent to look at all these technologies that work together. There's a role for nuclear, large, small. There's a role for hydro. There's a role for gas, a role for renewables. And that portfolio of technologies coming together that make a commercial sense for each country in terms of meeting those goals, it really fundamentally is putting nuclear on the menu, as it were, to really be understood as part of a solution and part of generating those opportunities both regionally and also internationally.
Great, and indeed this can be the way forward for nuclear. And let's get back to Konstantin Konstantinov and energy exchanges, because you mentioned that there are a lot and how they can cooperate together. Do you think that there is a vision for them to be merged, or do you think that they can work separate, depending on the legislation and the regulation, as you mentioned? Can you give us your insight in 2-3 minutes?
Yeah, definitely. This is one of the scenarios for merging electricity exchanges. For example, here in the Balkan region, in every single country we have an exchange, and only for a couple of years we have more than 5 or 6 newly established exchanges. But I think the more important thing is to secure the fact that every exchange are working on one and the same rules. And according to this, as Mr. Malinov confirmed, the coupling projects will be possible everywhere in Europe and even beyond the European borders, which is important actually for the producers and for the consumers and for the traders, of course, because having in mind the good physically connectivity, actually the exchanges have to provide the market connectivity and to allow the electricity to flow no matter of the place of generation and consumption. A good example for this common activities is that currently, for example, as I mentioned, we and in IBEX and all of the other NIMUs in Europe are preparing ourselves to introduce the 15 minutes products on the day-ahead market. Currently, 15 minutes products are available for trading only in intraday markets. And this will happen simultaneously in the middle of this year for every market zones within the European Union. The other good thing is the common rules for market monitoring and market surveillance policy of each exchange, even these ones from Serbia, Macedonia, and even Turkey. We are following one and the same rules and procedures, and we are reporting on a common platforms for every market zones, but we have one and the same rules everywhere. So I think no matter if we have a consolidation of a company levels or have single companies, the main issue and the most important thing is to work on one and the same rules.
Yes, collaboration and regulation. And I'm going back to you, Costis. This is more general question to give us an overview, because you are one of the most experienced here in this panel. What is your overview, having heard all these different aspects in energy and region?
I will go back to the original question you asked me, which was about the impact of the current geopolitical situation on the energy markets in Southeast Europe. And I would like to say that what comes clearly out of this crisis we have been witnessing since 2021, with ups and downs, and now again, it's the issue of energy security. So energy security and how to strengthen the energy security is key to be able to address such threats as the ones we have been witnessing. And I think the region, I keep repeating the region because I am committed to this idea, and we are committed to this idea, is that it's much better prepared now than it was 3 years ago. And when we say energy security, I think we are concerned really with two components. First of all is the energy mix of each country, not just the electricity, the energy mix. The more balanced energy mix you have, the more secure you can be. So this is number one. And so, number two is the cooperation, which has strengthened not only through market coupling, and we see the maturity. We see electricity markets really maturing very fast in the region. I mean, if you were talking to me 3 years ago about market coupling, I would say it cannot happen. It has happened. And now we're talking also to Serbia, which is not part of the EU. So, you know, things are moving. Turkey is a very interesting case because Turkey is not part of the EU. But if you look at the energy legislation of Turkey, you will see that they have adopted fully, with exception of gas trading, the European acquis. And they're ready. They have bundled, they have open markets, they have increased their input on renewables. I mean, Turkey is a leader of renewables in the region. So, and coming back to the cooperation issue, we see also the development of market cooperation, not only on electricity, but also on gas. On gas, where we have the EU platform, which is not much used for the supply, but it's a very clear example of cooperation, and the countries very willingly, although they don't make much use of this, have participated. So I think it's in a nutshell, energy security with its many facets is absolutely key for the region. Thank you.
Great. And as Martin gave us a great example of how the hydropower could be used as energy storage, I don't know if you want to give some more details on how this is evolving, because also we are working on the same project in Greece with the hydro stations that we have, and it's very, let's say, efficient. And apart from this, what do you think is the future of hydro? Because, and can you give us more insights in 2 minutes for this?
So yes, first I confirm that this is one of the trends for construction of new pump storages at locations between existing dams, and this is not only in Europe, but in the whole world, to use this existing infrastructure and of course to save the reduce the investment costs, also to have, or let's start a few steps back. One of the biggest issues with construction of hydro power infrastructure and plants are the environmental concerns. So by using the already existing dams and using existing interaction with the nature already, usually these are constructed underground, so with very limited and tiny, I would say, connection with the nature. This is why this is a very common approach. We have seen several such projects. The newest pump storages in Europe, which are in Switzerland, exactly the same. In Austria, there are such projects. So this is definitely the trend. Otherwise, with respect to future of hydro, I believe it's great. It is, if I can use these words, the electricity with the highest quality, which is at the moment, which is produced on demand whenever needed, and providing what was many times also mentioned, security. First being local source, second being possible to be produced on demand. Unfortunately, the opportunities for new purely hydro projects is limited, especially in the more developed countries like Western Europe or Nordics, which are the leaders more or less in the world. It's very much limited. However, based on several international studies, in our region, there is still untapped potential for development, so we really hope to develop based on it, develop project based on it, of course, in full compliance with environmental regulations.
Yes, thank you very much, Martin. And as we're reaching the end, I will change a bit the flow because I want to leave the end to our lady here in the panel. So we'll address the next question to Mr. Homatas. Because we're seeing with the new addition of the FSRU in Alexandroupolis, what do you think is the space? How many FSRUs can be developed in Greece?
Okay, this is the question. But who could give the answer? This is very difficult to say that there is a room or there is no room. We have wait for some period in order to have some data, historical data. I told you before that regarding Revithoussa, all these years, it was obvious that Revithoussa had a very crucial role. Let's see, running this current year, the operation of Alexandroupoli FSRU started in October. We are very near. It's only three months past. Let's see. Let's have the result of the year, and I will come in the next forum to answer. Only since you gave me the floor, only three issues, three topics, very fast. The one that I would like to point is the vertical corridor, where we are all together in this common effort. I think that this is a reality, and we are waiting for good news the next 15, 18 months. The second one is the hydrogen, the project of the hydrogen. You know that all of the SFAS projects now are constructed with specifications of hydrogen. Means that this is a hydrogen network using natural gas. And of course, our common efforts with Bulgartrans to have a market test, let's say, to assess hydrogen in the market of both countries. And the last one is the CCS. The SFA has proposed Apollo. Apollo is a project referred to a CCS hub from the transportation up to supply to the storage of the quantities. And this is something new for the Central Eastern Europe. And we are working on that, and we are waiting for results. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you for the answer. So the last question is for our lady in the panel. Teodora, we're discussing about energy security, and because you were in the position and you were developing a project that is a cornerstone of energy security, how do you think that, and you work with politicians, of course, because politicians are always behind things. If they don't move things forward, nothing will happen. So based on your experience, how do you take that politicians understand the need for security and they help developing this? What was, because you were for many years supporting this project and trying to achieve, you face difficulties. Can you give us one or two examples in 2 minutes to close nicely this panel?
George, you surprised me. Okay, thank you for the question. Yeah. If I may say, let's say the experience for IGB, mostly when I get a little bit older, I should write a book. But nevertheless, it was, let's say, on one hand, you're right that it should be, there should be a political support. On the other hand, you should have consistency and willingness this to happen, which has happened because it becomes a cause for me and the team. But saying, let's say, replying more specifically to your question, I think that, let's say, the structure, talking about cooperation and being in this forum, let's name it that the structure of IGB, although looked a little bit complex, and somebody might say that it had been structured in a way not to happen, I mean, helped a lot during the process, because if there are only, let's say, statements that everybody, politicians are behind energy security and diversification of sources. In fact, it is this structure, which is 50% Bulgaria, 50% Greece, is a kind of regulating the let's say, extreme movements which might jeopardize this project to happen. But it has, I mean, lots of challenges on the way in regards with financing, in regards with, let's say, realization of 3 BCM with relevant pressure, not to talk about construction where, I mean, we thought that when there is a construction, we're purely talking about contract management, but it has happened to be a real challenge as well. So it is not an ordinary business. I have mentioned in the very beginning, gas is not an ordinary business. It's lots of geopolitics behind. That's why you should know, which is not easy, which buttons to press in order this to happen, and have a persistence in order this to realize this project. Yeah, so thank you for the question. So it was not an easy one, but worth realizing it. And one, let's say, reply to the question that you refer. It's not a reply, but what I also made the calculation. I think that I discussed with you that in Greece, if you count all the FSRUs that would have been realized, we are reaching to 22 BCM. So given the fact that currently with the implementation of Sidro Castro upgrade from, let's say, from 3 to 5, and also IGB from 3 to 5, I mean, this is the answer. We cannot talk about more than 10 BCM in order this to happen at this stage. Because at the end of the day, we are talking about sustainability of the projects, and we need this, I'm repeating myself, some understanding also European-wise for the energy security and stay competitive. I also would like to say that let's say what Vlado has mentioned is a good one, but it's also related with this. Let's have some subsidy, stay competitive, and why not realizing one-stop shop for the users from Alexandroupolis to Ukraine.
Great, great. And this is, so the last, let's say, phrase is that from the local that goes regional, that goes global. So I would like to thank all the participants to this very nice panel. I hope that the audience enjoyed, and please give us an applause, and to Mr. Christidis.